Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us. Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I wanted to take a few moments at the beginning of the program to kind of give you a ministry update. Coming up in a few moments, we'll also be sharing with you our time together with Max Lucado about his new book called Before Amen. But we've been so busy getting settled into the new facility here at theDove that we really haven't taken the time to share with you all the things that are going on in order to get settled in here. And it's been quite the challenge, and yet very, very exciting. And as you know, we've been talking about it now for well over a year. theDove has been renting facilities for over 30 years. And literally by, I'm going to say just divine invention or intervention, that the Lord has provided for us an opportunity to have our own building. And believe me, it has been a long road finding the right one. And so almost a year ago, we entered into the negotiations for the building. And here we are, just about a year later, we're finally in. And we had a lot of things to do to get settled in here. And it has been very, very exciting. The building is just a tool. I want to keep all this in perspective as we've been trying to find a facility to house the Dove operation. It's a tool to do what we really feel in our hearts that God has called us to do, and that is to produce more Christian media content for radio, television, for iPads and phones and all these mobile devices that are out there, the internet and Roku. We're involved in all of these things, and so we just asked that the Lord to help us to find the right facility. And so here we are. We're located out at the airport, 2070 Milligan Way, and we moved very fast to get in here. And we're now broadcasting the entire network, both radio and television, from the new facility. However, we're not completely settled, and the work to get settled isn't quite done. It's turned out to be a much bigger project than we thought. But it does give us the opportunity to do what we really feel that God has called us to do. Part of our vision in developing more radio and television content is to provide an opportunity for students to come in and learn what we do as well. And we've done internships in the past, and they were very successful. We just didn't have the room. And we were hoping we'd be up and running for the fall season, but we just got in here and got into so many challenges in trying to get all this stuff to work that we had to push it off one more term. But beginning at the first of the year, we are looking forward to working with students coming in and learning what we do here at theDove. Why? Why is that important? Well, first of all, we're very concerned that the next generation have an opportunity to learn it. Number two, it provides for students an opportunity to go back into their churches or their home churches and maybe work in the media department. It also provides an opportunity for them to learn and maybe take this on as a career, which we're very passionate about. More Christians involved in media at any level, in all the levels. So we're very excited that this facility now provides the opportunity for us to have the room to do that. Now, folks, tomorrow is going to be the beginning of our fall share-a-thon. Twice a year, we ask you to prayerfully consider supporting theDove. We're a nonprofit organization. We are non-commercial on the radio side. We're allowed some commercials on the television side. But for the most part, 86% of theDove's income is from viewers and listeners just like you. Doesn't happen any other way. And when I look at the reports every week, every month, sometimes every day, I'm marveled by the faithfulness of so many people that partner with theDove to make this thing happen. And what it really is about is getting the gospel on all of these media platforms and reaching people. And I've never seen the request for help and hope greater than we are today. I mean, let's face it, the world is upside down. Everything is upside down. The economy's upside down. The weather's upside down. And the list goes on and on and on. I mean, everywhere you turn, there's just something going on that just leads you to believe that there has to be an opportunity out there for people to know truth. And people are starving to hear the truth, and they're starving to know what is true. And so our calling, we believe, is to use the media platforms to put the gospel out there in various forms and ways and programming that helps people find the Lord. And I reminded this morning, I got up and in my devotions, I just turned, I don't know why, but maybe it's providential, I turned to the scripture that has become the key to what we do here. It's found 2 places in the Bible, but let me read it to you out of Romans chapter 10. It's also found in Isaiah 65. But Romans chapter 10 says this, I was found by those who did not seek me, and I revealed myself to those who did not ask. Now, how does that happen? He is found by people who aren't even seeking him. Well, we know that media is a platform where people surf through all of these devices, whether it's radio or television or iPhones or iPads or whatever the mobile device is. They're flipping around, and all of a sudden they come across some content, and while they're watching that content, they see the Lord. And it goes on to say, and I revealed myself to those who didn't even ask. God is putting the clarion call out to the world, come to him. And so while they're watching the content, the Lord reveals himself to them while they're watching the content. And I can tell you by the mail and the correspondence that we get here at the Dove, that's the miracle that happens every day. So when you team up with the Dove, with your support, you're making that happen. And we just couldn't do it any other way. And so twice a year, we ask you to prayerfully consider supporting the Dove. Now, folks, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I wish there was another way we could raise revenue that we didn't have to come to the audience to do that. I really do. I'd rather have you just support other ministries. That's where my heart is. But I only ask 2 things when you support the Dove. Number 1, and I mean this sincerely, that the Lord is leading you to do it. So if you got the letter in the mail with the little card in there, would you take a few moments and just pray over that? And number 2, make sure it's a joy for you to support the Dove. So if the Lord's leading you and it's a joy, then the amount, that's between you and the Lord. And I also mean sincerely, don't take from your church. We really feel that our role in the community and in the community of faith is to support the church in every way we can. So don't take from your church. And don't take from any other ministry that the Lord has you involved in. Your support goes there first. So we pray that you'll do that. But in the meantime, if you really feel led to be a part of this ministry and what the Lord is doing here through all of these media devices and in the future training more students, so pray about it and see what the Lord would have you to do in supporting the Dove. It's your monthly support that makes the big difference. When I sit down and do the budget, and the board and I, we work through the budget every year, I tell you, we have to look at the averaging and see how many folks do it on a monthly basis. That's what helps us in putting the budget together. You can imagine that. It's what it takes. And so pray about that, and if you can, fill out that card and send it in. Now, if it's easier for you, you can go to the Dove's website at thedove.us, and there's 2 buttons at the top of the page. One says Help Build the Wall, or Support the Dove. You can click on either one of those and support us there. And it's safe and it's secure. You know, and one of the things that we do here at the Dove, and we love doing, in fact, we feel that it's part of what God called us to do, and that is to support other ministries. We love coming alongside a lot of ministries out there that are doing special work. I mean, I'm thinking of the pregnancy centers both in Jackson County and Medford and in Grants Pass with Cindy and Robin. I'm thinking of the Hearts with the Mission and Kevin and his group, and of course Bud with Youth for Christ, and Doug with Foundations for Recovery, which they have a great big event coming up this next weekend. It's fun. We really are passionate about coming alongside those ministries that are doing unique work throughout Southern Oregon and Northern California, and to help them. And we really feel that that's part of our mission as well, is to support these ministries in doing what they do. So in some ways, as you support us, you're helping us to support them. And we look forward to doing that, and especially in years to come. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to have Steve Johnson and Polina join us in talking about tomorrow. And those watching on the Dove TV, we're going to take another little kind of a camera shot and let you see something else that's going on here in the new facility. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and I've asked Steve Johnson to join me here to talk about tomorrow and the next couple of days, but also to, you know, Steve, here we are. After all of these years, after all the prayers, after all of the looking at buildings, here we are now literally broadcasting from our new facility.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of those buildings that we went and looked at. You'd say, hey, are you doing anything? Get in the truck, we're going out and take a look.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of those. I know you saw even more of them, but I think you probably didn't think that it would be in this location when you were looking at a lot of them.
I looked at this building quite a few years ago and kind of passed on it because I just thought, well, it was too good to be true, and I just moved on. And then it came back to us, but we are broadcasting from our new home. It's located out the Jackson County Airport, and it's this used to be a hangar for Learjets, and we have converted it into radio and television studios. And in some ways, it's more than ideal. It's got the concrete floors that we're looking for. It's got the high ceilings, which we need for television work. And it has plenty of room to do all the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
What do you think so far?
Well, I think when you say converting, that's true, because back here we've still got the studs and everything. And this is where we're right now in front of where Telephone Central is and will be for the next few days. So we'll be taking your calls when you call in and keeping up to date with where we are on reaching that goal that we have. Yeah. So this will be really nice. Our volunteers, people just like you who say, hey, I want to help out, they'll be sitting here, and you'll be able to call and get on the phone and off very quickly to get your support for the Dove, which we really need this time of year.
Well, we do this twice a year, and our goal for the next 3 days is $98,500. That's what it's going to take to keep the Dove going through the end of the year. Included in that is the wall around the studio here. Now, we can't show you in a wide shot, but we're actually in a big room here, and everybody else in the building has to be quiet while we're live on the air.
It's a good thing the morning show is when it is, because this whole building, the whole Dove is a hot set right now.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to have some security from the wall standpoint, from a sound perspective.
What you're seeing behind us here, for those watching on the Dove TV, if you're listening on the radio, we have a set wall around us. So this is a television set, and these are these modern steel stud walls that are done.
And you might remember our window that we had. We did bring that over, but we still have a lot of finishing to do with this.
Yeah, the window it came with us.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just the wall on the television set. Around the actual television studio, we have to build a fairly big wall. It's double size of a normal wall, and there's 4 inches of dead air in between. And the reason for that is it creates the soundproofing that we need. Well, that in itself is big, but what makes this project even more expensive is that we have to go up in the air 26 feet and in order to enclose this room. So when you're supporting the Dove over the next 3 days, you're helping us with that. That's just part of the overall goal of what needs to be done. But, you know, Steve, it's not really about walls, is it? It's not physical walls.
Right. I was going to say, you know, the aspect is that is a physical need that we have, but really we're hoping that we're building spiritual walls for you and your family in so many things. And, you know, I talked to one of our listeners and viewers to the Dove Radio and the Dove TV, and she said, you know, I knew when you said you were going to move from the old place to the new place that you'd be off the air. And she said, yeah, I knew that would happen. But then it was that morning I tuned in and you weren't there. And I knew why you weren't there, but she said it just really hit me. This is what it would be like without the Dove. And the reason I put that sense of urgency and value for that is that there's so many people who still need to find out who Jesus Christ is. And with the great Dove TV and radio programs, I mean, there are some people who we hear about it if Focus on the Family isn't playing right, or David Jeremiah's program, or any of those. And the whole issue is that we want to be sure that we can kind of build these walls of encouragement, of hope, of faith for you and your family, because I think when you think of the whole spiritual warfare aspect, you know, this is a fortress that we want to have in your life of strength, so that when the other spiritual forces come up against you, and you know what those are, I mean, it can be anything, that you'll have a strong foundation. So that's really what all of this is about, to make sure that the Dove can continue that for you, your family, and for those people who have yet to really find out who Christ really is.
And I want to just kind of echo what Steve is saying there and say to all of the listeners and the viewers, thank you so much for your patience. We had a lot of technical difficulties to get all this worked out, and we still have a few things left to do. But you were very patient and enduring during all of the transition, where some of the programs didn't air right, some of the audio quality wasn't there, all of those things that we were trying to work very hard behind the scenes. Our engineer, Bill Witt, he just worked day and night to kind of get it all straightened out. So thank you for your patience. But Steve brings up a very good point, and that is the programming on the Dove is what it's really all about. Now, a lot of the programs that you hear on the Dove radio in the morning are repeated in the evening, and there's a reason for that. A lot of folks hear them in the morning and say, boy, I want to hear that again, and they can in the evening. A lot of folks can't hear them in the morning, and they lay in bed at night and listen to them in the evening. So the radio is still impacting people like you could never. It's just amazing, the cards and letters that we get from Jeremiah, people who listen to Dr. David Jeremiah, or Charles Stanley, Chip Ingram, Chuck Swindoll, all of those programs that are on during the daytime and in the evening. And then on the Dove television side, there is a reason why the Dove TV for 2 years won and was awarded Television Station of the Year, Low Power Television Station of the Year, from the National Religious Broadcasters Association. And primarily because it's different. It has different content, different programming. We have a lot of apologetics on the air. All of these things that are there for you to minister to you and to minister to the viewer. And it's about that. That's what we do, is getting those programs out there so that you can be encouraged and strengthened and given the hope that this whole world needs. I mean, let's face it, things are crazy out there. And we're trying our best to be a different channel among all of the other things that are available. So your support over the next 3 days is vital. And we can't do it any other way. And Steve, as we talked about earlier, yeah, they can do it one time, but they can do it over a period of time as well. Well,
yeah, and that's the issue, is that we just want to make sure that you are doing what God wants you to do. And you got to be praying about it first, you know, and then make sure that it's on track to fit whatever it is that the Lord is leading you. So that's why, you know, we hear people say, well, what do you suggest? Well, what is God leading you to do? I mean, we could give you any numbers, but it's really all up to you. Some people will do it for like $1 a day, and that might be a great starting point. That's definitely a help for all of us. But it's really between you and God. And Perry, that's really what the goal is. We don't want to get in the way of what the Lord is leading you, because some people can do a lot more than that, and others it's the widow's mite kind of a thing. It's whatever the Lord is leading you.
Well, and that's just it. So be praying about it. If you sent the card in, I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
As I sit down to budget the Dove and do the things that we do on budgeting, those cards help me a lot.
I was trying to see if we had any over here. I don't know that we do, but
no,
if you got it in the mail, that's fine. If you didn't, that's okay. You know, it helps us get started, but we'll be able to let you fill in whatever the amount is.
And you can go to the Dove website, and you're going to see 2 buttons at the top. One, it says Help Build the Wall. That's the wall around the studio. Or you see that one says Support the Dove or Become a Partner. You can click on that. Basically the same thing. And what Steve says is correct. If the Lord's leading you on a monthly basis or one time, whatever. And the amount, that's between you and God. Our goal is $98,500. And what that is, folks, that's what it takes to get the Dove funded through the rest of the year. But it also is what it takes to finish this wall that we have to do inside the building here. And it's a huge part of what we do. Once that's done, then we're ready to rock and roll. I mean, start producing some programs.
And I was going to say, for people who've never supported the Dove before, you mention this quite often, but maybe you're still not familiar with it. The word for you today, you'll get your own copy of all of this. And it is let me just say this, if you haven't read it, it's far more of a need in your life than you think right now. Because people have been so impressed by this, and they've handed it to other people. You know how it is, how sometimes you can't necessarily talk into somebody's life, maybe because you're such a close friend to who they are. But then you say, you know what, read this one. And you know, for example, just pick up Sunday, October 5th, about fighting for your marriage. Maybe you have somebody who's really in the middle of that. And sure, you could tell them all the stuff you probably already told them before, but now here's a different perspective for it. So that's just a random word for you today from Bob Gass. So you'll be getting a copy of this when you support the Dove.
Well, yeah, and this book is really touching lives all over. It's just our way of saying, hey, thank you for being a part of what we do. We not only want to be something that you see and something that you hear, but something that you can read. So it's kind of like hear, watch, read, and that's what we have with the Dove and all of the platforms that are going on here. people have been asking us, well, when can we come by and take a look? And I'll say this, when the wall's done.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing to do. If you came in here now, you could see a lot, and we have a lot going on, but we really want to see it, have you see it when it's complete. And so once the wall is done and built, then we'll put together an open house and have everybody come by and take a look at it. But we're pretty excited. I tell you what, this is unbelievable what God has done through this building and what we can do now in developing more content. And I can't wait to get students in here.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
That's a big part of what we're going to do.
And in fact, during the 1 o'clock hour tomorrow,
tomorrow,
you're going to want to join us for that, because we've got some a special interview and also kind of a discussion about what we really need to do with this space. I think you'll find it fascinating. You know, the other thing, Perry, I was going to say is that if, in fact, you're a person who is like, you know what, I'm going to be out of town tomorrow, Thursday, and Wednesday. You know, what do I do about that? Well, you could call right now. I know that Sue's at the front, and she'd be happy to take your call. So this is a pre-Sherathon Drive
Can you
phone number
pan over there? She's through the window. I don't know.
There she is, yeah. She's right there.
Turn around,
okay.
Sue.
Here she is.
There she is.
There she is, right there. And she can take your call right now. That number, if you aren't familiar, is 776-5368, and of course, area code 541. And you know, because we're thinking that this is when we're doing the Sherathon, but your schedule might be that this is a perfect time for you to call even before it starts. So you could do that. Again, that's 776-5368. And of course, if you're not getting the word for you today, we'll get you that. And if you need extra copies, we'll get that as well.
Okay. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Polina's going to join me for a few moments, and then right after that we have Max Lucado, so stick around. Okay, we're back, and I have with us, with me, Polina.
Hello.
And Polina is the producer of the morning show, and in particular, Focus Today. And you think, well, what does a producer do when Perry's just sitting on a chair talking to people? But
yes,
it's a lot of work, right?
You do most of it. But what I do is I schedule those people.
Yeah.
And I specifically, because we get a lot of responses to the interviews we already had, and you mentioned last month or this month we had 51,000 YouTube hits. So we can see what areas, what topics are of most interest. Right. And of course we go online, we see what's on the news, and we see what's of a concern for people. So we go after those guests. And sometimes there are people you've never heard of. Sometimes they're A-list kind of guests. You know, today you have Max Lucado. And we've actually partnered with and became friends with a lot of big names. And sometimes we forget about it because it's just kind of
every day.
We're used to it. Yeah. But that's pretty much what I do. Is I contact people. I communicate with them. I invite them to the show, and they come, you know, they come to the show and they love being here. There's something about the Dove that makes them really want to come back.
Well, you know, the other thing is that it's all about getting programming content that connects with people emotionally. And Polina, you not only arrange for these people, but then all of a sudden you get to hear the impact that guest is having. Sometimes you hear back from folks that you've had on the air. I'm thinking Todd Frio. We've had our good buddy Gene Getz, Dr. Gene Getz. We have Wallace Henley, Max Lucado. I mean, Patrick Doyle. When you have these kind of guests on, then it's got to be pretty fulfilling when we get a letter back and say, "Wow, that is exactly what I needed."
Yeah, that's the reward that we're looking for. That's the reward that we love to hear. But I think even when we don't get that, which, you know, we don't know of every life that's been changed or every life that's been touched by our programming. We know that God works in such ways that we don't know, we'll never know. So even if we didn't get any letters today or this month, we'll still keep going, because I know for a fact that it's ministering to people. And sometimes we find out about these things months or even years later. You bump into somebody and they say, you know, 2 years ago I ran into this program and it influenced me.
And sometimes we get cards and letters all over the place. And that's what is, you don't know where this is going. You just don't know where it's going. So folks, when you partner with the Dove, it's a different ministry. It really is. You're not only helping us to have the program there that ministers to you, but you're helping us to have the program there that ministers to literally thousands, literally all over the place. We're still working to get the Dove TV on more platforms and the radio on more stations, and that's part of the growth plan. But it's not about bigness, it's about impact. It's about touching a life that's hurting. And I don't know anybody that's not stressed today. Can you tell me anybody that's not stressed today? The world has gone crazy. I don't care where you live or what country you're from or what planet you think you're on. This place is really upside down. And it's signaling something. And what it also has done is created an incredible opportunity to get the gospel out. More people are open to hearing an alternative to the mess. This is the church's hour to deliver the goods. And we know that 1/3 of our audience, both radio and television, are non-believers. We know 1/3 of our audience are people who attend church on a regular basis. And we know that the other 1/3 of our audience are people who believe, but for various reasons, whatever it may be, it might be financial, it could be relationships, it could be all kinds of issues, physical problems, but they can't and don't regularly attend a church. And the Dove becomes their spiritual connection. So it's amazing when we hear these testimonies back about how the Dove is reaching people. So for the next 3 days, starting tomorrow, we're going to ask you to prayerfully join the team, and especially those of you who are listening and watching who have never become a partner with the Dove. Would you pray about doing that? And if you didn't get this little card, or you got the letter.
Yeah, we got the letter.
The letter said, "Help build the wall." In the letter was this little card, and the card is a response card. I sure hope that you will take the time to send that back in. I want to say to those of you who have sent it in, thank you so very much. Boy, that gives us a jump on a lot of things, accounting, planning, and all of those things. Would you take a few moments, if you still have the card at your house, would you fill that out and send it in this week as soon as you can? Boy, that really helps, and pray over it, okay? If you don't have a card or you didn't get a letter, you can go to the Dove website at thedove.us, and right at the top, you'll see 2 buttons, Support the Dove or Help Build the Wall. And Polina, you're on the air every morning, a couple of hours, and with me, and you know the need of a wall around this studio.
We do. It's a live studio, the whole building is, and the building is huge, which we're very grateful for. It's got a lot of potential. But when we're on air for the 2-3 hours in the morning, 3 hours, everybody has to be quiet, and everybody has to be pretty alert of everything, which should be happening anyway. But the wall, for me, for us, the first and foremost is going to be kind of it will help our operation for those 3 hours a lot. It's going to be a soundproof wall, and it will help us to feel like a studio and to operate like a TV studio. It will also add, we'll be able to add a control room and change the layout a little bit to where the operation will be a little more efficient. So this would be a big step forward, something we've never had before.
Well, and I think you make a good point. The reason we have to put a wall around this, not only for sound, we actually have our control room in another room. It's a storeroom. We have the control room and a storeroom. It's working. Don't get me wrong. It's working. It's working okay. But the ideal when we put up the main wall, we'll move the control room into a room next to that wall with windows into the studio so they can see what's going on. So it's just to make the operation more efficient. But I really want you to understand, it's not about buildings and walls. Those are tools. It's about developing more content. We have some ideas that we feel that the Lord is leading us to do in producing more programs. Did you know, like the Dove TV, there's about 2,000 low-power television stations throughout the country. Did you know that? Mm-mm. And a good portion of those are Christians, low-power television stations. And they are starving for content. And since we have been granted the honor of winning the NRB Station of the Year twice for 2012 and 2014, those folks are looking to us and saying, what are you guys doing, and can we get the content? And so we really feel like the Lord is leading us to develop more content that could be put on other stations to do the same work that we're doing and reaching people. So when you support the Dove, you're going to help us do that.
Yeah, and that's what we really want you to understand, is that when you partner with the Dove, and then when you become a part of our team, and maybe this is something that you can pray about for this next 3 days, maybe you haven't partnered with us before, and you want to be part of this big family. You're not just paying the bills or helping us pay the bills. You're really becoming part of a big, big ministry that is affecting and helping people. because like you mentioned earlier, there's so much negative around us, and the news is horrible, and sometimes you listen to the talk radios, and I think they themselves realize that it's pretty bad out there. And yesterday in the sermon that we heard in our church, Father said, you can't get away from the devil. You can't unless you stay close to Christ.
Right.
And it really hit me, and I realized that it's so true in our relationship, in our families, in our job relationship, but also here at theDove. Like you said, so many people don't have church. So many people don't have that relationship with Christ that you may already have. And God willing, they will establish that maybe this will be the first step. But when you partner with us, you're helping people to see that light. Maybe it's a small light, but it will be a very small light of hope that they'll receive through theDove. So that's what you're doing when you partner with us.
You know, let's be honest too. We're living in a very fast culture. Everything is instant. Everything is push button. We have to have laws so you're not pushing buttons while you're driving. You know, you're texting. Everything is just speeded up. All this information flowing out there. You never know when they come across the Dove dial. You never know when it's radio, television, and the content. And that goes back to the scripture that the Lord gave us in Romans 10:20. I was found by those who weren't seeking me. How does that happen? Well, they're flipping through the dial, and at the right moment, and it's a God thing, it's the right moment where God connects the content of the Dove with the person's need, right there at that moment. And we're in and out of these things in the matter of seconds and minutes these days. We don't spend a lot of time anywhere. We're just booming all around. And we want to make sure that we have that content there ready when God can match it with the person's need. And when you support theDove, you make that happen. How about you? When you're driving around, all of a sudden you're having a low moment, you flip on theDove, and there it is. It's the right song, it's the right commentary, it's the right program. Maybe it's an interview that I'm having at the right time. Maybe it's when I have Gene Getz on, he's sharing with you the right scripture at the right moment. That's what it's about. And so when you partner with theDove, you're helping us do that. So it all starts tomorrow. In fact, you can do it today, but I just want you to ask the Lord to help us. Our goal is $98,500. Out of that, or included in that, is the wall around the studio. But that's what it's going to take to get us through the end of the year. Then it starts all over again. But pray about it, and you can call now. The number is 541-776-5368, or you can go online at thedove.us. Right at the top of the page, you'll see it up there, and help build the wall or support theDove.
And thank you so much. We're going to have some guests. Let me just give you a little sneak peek of what's going to happen this next 3 days. We will have some guests that you don't know about yet. We'll have a little celebration that you don't know what it's all about yet. We will have surprises, and you never know what those guests will do. Sometimes we have surprises from them.
All right, stick around. Coming up next, our time together with Max Lucado. You talk about encouragement. Stick around. You're going to be encouraged coming up in just a few moments.